It began with a minor accident on an empty road at night. The impact was entirely survivable, but the trauma was enough to stop the driver's heart for exactly 3 minutes. Waking up in the hospital felt remarkably ordinary. The doctors documented a clean resuscitation, the body healed quickly, and the survivor walked out seemingly intact. But those 3 dead minutes had left a void inside the host that medical equipment couldn't detect. The environment noticed the shift first. Strangers on the street began staring a little too long, drawn by a gravity they couldn't explain. Animals reacted with pure hostility. Neighborhood dogs barked violently as the survivor passed, and birds scattered instantly, recognizing a predator hiding in plain sight. Then the physics of the apartment began to fail. Reflective surfaces no longer mirrored reality in real time. A glance in the bathroom mirror revealed a noticeable lag, a fraction of a second where the reflection waited and then smiled entirely on its own. Surviving clinical death left the body temporarily vacant, creating an open door for an invasive presence to cross the threshold. The subtle anomalies escalated into physical displacement. The survivor began losing entire blocks of time, eventually waking up on the apartment floor, covered in mud, shoes soaked and hands bleeding, with zero memory of ever walking out the door. The phone's camera roll held the missing hours. Unrecorded video files showed a solitary figure standing in a cemetery at night, completely motionless, staring downward into the dirt. The audio track revealed the survivor whispering to the graves. A moment later, an impossible, distinct voice answered back from deep underground, stating, "Wrong body." The nighttime brought a strict, terrifying routine. At exactly 3:11 a.m., sleep paralysis would lock the host inside an unmoving body. The eyes could only watch as a remarkably tall, thin silhouette with a hidden face stood motionless in the corner of the bedroom. The observer eventually stepped out of the corner. It leaned over the bed, whispering directly into the host's ear. And by dawn, foreign fingerprints were bruised deeply into the skin of the throat. The precision of the 3:11 a.m. arrivals and the tactile nature of the fingerprints point to a systematic inventory. The presence is actively mapping the host's physical body and personal history for a total takeover. Seeking answers led to a reclusive priest outside the city. The moment he saw the survivor, he froze. His diagnosis was immediate. The soul that returned from the crash was not the original. This ancient entity systematically overwrites the host, absorbing memories until the original personality is entirely superseded. Inside the church, the parasite seized active control, overriding the vocal cords to announce to the priest it already had permission to be there. Back in the apartment, physical reality began to splinter. A sudden crack across the bedroom mirror fractured the reflection, exposing an impossible, infinitely deep corridor stretching out behind the glass. Inside that endless architecture stood dozens of silent figures. They were distorted, half-formed doppelgangers of the host, waiting patiently in the dark hallways. The entity then began dismantling the mind. Core memories, childhood homes, close friends, a mother's face, were violently and permanently deleted. It used stolen details to synthesize the voice of a deceased parent, begging for help from the dark, perfectly weaponizing grief to paralyze the victim. The distorted dimension behind the mirror is the physical staging ground. This is where the entity constructs the exact replica before executing the final swap. The walls of the apartment finally gave way entirely. The ceiling split open, tearing reality apart to expose a cosmic, endless void, resembling deep ocean water, crowded with thousands of floating silhouettes. These drifting shapes are vacant human shells, empty biological vessels waiting for a new occupant to step inside and wear them. Far beneath those empty bodies moved the source of the invasion, an ancient, massive entity composed entirely of thousands of stolen human faces, all opening their eyes simultaneously to look upward. Under that immense gaze, the repressed memory of the car crash finally surfaced. The host wasn't trapped inside the wreckage. They were standing on the dark road outside their own body, looking down as paramedics desperately tried to restart their dead heart. Standing right beside them on the asphalt was the entity. It offered a hand, and in the sheer terror of facing total non-existence, the victim willingly took it. The consequence of that bargain is total eviction. The original consciousness is cleanly pushed out of its own skull, becoming a hollow fixture trapped inside the mirror realm, while the copy assumes its life perfectly. The reflex to survive at any cost facilitates a total biological surrender. By accepting a hand in the dark to cheat death, the survivor invited an ancient presence to complete the final erasure of their